Hey, Nerd, we're back talking rookie wide receivers. In this show, we're going to talk about Malik Nabers, where he is some people's wide receiver 1 overall.
Here, laddie.
Yeah, and we've got some really exciting prospects at the end. Don't miss them.
I will get a little wonky for McConkey.
Here, laddie.
Ready, set, hut, hut. Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Rich Dotson. He's Matthew O'Hara.
Hey.
He's Garret Price.
I can't tell you how many times this second episode I don't have my headphones plugged in.
It's
like 50%.
It's majority. Yeah, I think it's 51, if anything.
Yeah, probably.
He's the guy everybody asks why he's never on camera, Jared Wackerly.
Hey, Dick.
Hey. So we're back with part 2 of our rookie wide receiver breakdowns, and let's just dive right into it. If you missed the first episode, go back and listen to that one, because we talked about Marvin Harrison Jr. and Brian Thomas and Garrett's favorite wide receiver, Tez Walker.
My favorite wide receiver.
Quit lying.
Yeah, you love that guy.
Gosh, you guys are the worst.
Highest
saw him when he played
nerd
at Kent
score
State.
out of the three of us. We were talking about it after the show.
Marginally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still the highest.
5 points.
Okay, well, you guys just hate him.
First up, somebody we don't hate, Malik Nabers.
We do not hate him.
Wide receiver, LSU, 6 foot, 200 pounds. I don't have any hands, arms, or wingspan.
He has no hands or arms.
That's so weird.
Kevin, that's pretty much how you exist right now with no hands or arms.
He's 20 years old. He'll be 21 in July. I do have that. At his pro day, these are pro day numbers. He ran a 4.35 40-yard dash. He had 129-inch broad jump, 15 bench presses, and a 42-inch vertical. So all those are very, very good numbers.
I have his hand numbers.
Do you?
9 and 7/8 hands.
Yeah.
31 3/8-inch arms. 76 and 1/8 wingspan.
I don't know why I didn't have those.
Do you have the bench rep numbers and stuff from his pro day?
I read all those already.
Oh, you just did.
Yeah.
I was reading the tweet while you did that.
That's okay.
My wife hates that when I'm reading something. I hear nothing else.
You never listen to me. In 13 games last year, he had 89 receptions, 1,569 yards receiving, 14 touchdowns, 1 rush attempt for 1 yard.
Malik Nabers really burst onto the scene this year. Different than Brian Thomas, though. They're both LSU receivers. But Malik Nabers, even though he really improved his draft stock dramatically, he was a name that was being talked about beforehand. He was somebody that was in Devy circles. He was somebody that had been hyped up a little bit.
1,017 yards last year.
Right. So it's
2022.
It's not like he came out of nowhere. Like, this has been building and growing, and this was really just the culmination of all of that time, effort, work that he put in at LSU. And it's interesting. Our top 2 receivers in this class, for most people at least, are Malik Nabers and Marvin Harrison Jr. Some even have it flipped. Some have Malik Nabers over Marvin Harrison.
Lately, a lot of people have it flipped.
They do, more than I would expect. I have Marvin Harrison Jr. over Malik Nabers, but there's quite a few people that have it flipped. But they're very different. They're very different players.
Very different.
And that's what makes this really interesting, because I think part of it could be preference of guys liking certain styles of players maybe over others, where in Marvin Harrison Jr. you have that traditional X receiver. He's got the body type, he's got the wingspan, he can high point the ball, contested catch, like a lot of those types of things. Malik Nabers is going to be the guy that is going to be an absolute yak monster. Yards after the catch is where he just truly differentiates himself from a lot of the other players in this class. The stuff that he does over the middle, and he can line up anywhere.
Yep.
You watch him, he'll line up on the outside, he'll line up at the X, at the Z, in the slot. He can line up anywhere. And I didn't see a big drop-off personally with where it was. It wasn't like
He's basically 50-50 between out wide and in the slot as far as his snaps. The past at least 2 years. His first year, he was almost exclusively out of the slot, or 2021, almost exclusively out of the slot. But other than that, he's been moving all around.
So he's a guy that can succeed anywhere. So it doesn't really matter what team drafts him, what their need. Like, he'll fit. Yep. which is a really, really good thing for him. Very bursty player, very quick player. He can break a lot of tackles. He's got really good body control. his release offs the line were impressive for a guy that also plays on the inside. I didn't see any drop off in his release when he was on the outside. So there was a lot to like in his game. There wasn't a lot to really nitpick. There were a few things I thought for a guy that wasn't as big as the Brian Thomases and the Marvin Harrison Jr.'s. I was surprised that he didn't do a very good job of like sinking his hips on his route running at times. You would see him even slip at times because of that. He was just playing too high. The nice part about that is that's not a super
the old Miss game in particular. I felt like he slipped like 3 times in that game.
Yes,
caused an interception for a return at one of them.
Yeah, and the good part is though that's coachable. Like that's something you can fix. That's not a terribly difficult thing to fix there. Brian Thomas is a completely different story. You stop it right now. The other small knock that I had was I was surprised he wasn't a little more physical at times, and I thought he was decently physical with the ball in his hands, but it was in some of his route running, and specifically when he played on the outside, it seemed like DBs were very easily able to push him to the sideline. I would have liked to have seen him play with some more physicality, maybe make some moves there. He was pushed to the sideline a little bit more on some of those vertical routes than I would have liked to have seen, but those are small things, not things that are overly big concerns, but I had to find something because overall he's a really good prospect.
Yeah, and what he maybe lacks in some other areas as far as his route running, he makes up for in his explosion. Mm-hmm. So he's able to get away with some of that stuff. He's really good in and out of breaks. The one knock I would say about he can jump. He's got a 42-inch vert. He's not like a guy that's ever going to be a jump ball type of guy. I didn't see a lot of that to his game. He's
fine there.
Yeah, he's fine, but I just don't think you're never going to throw a ball up and
he's not your jump ball
in the corner or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like he's not going to be a touchdown machine from that.
He attacks it well.
He's okay. That was another thing. I didn't love him when defenders were in tight. I thought he struggled at times catching the ball there. I think his hands are good overall.
I agree, and that was kind of the physicality thing, which was weird because I thought he was physical as a runner more than he was as a receiver.
You just want a little bit more. That's mine. You know what I mean? That's my bone.
Yeah,
a little bit more dog in him. But the explosions there, the yards after the catch is there. All the pieces you want to have a number one receiver have, he's got. Other than those small little things that we're kind of nitpicking. So I don't know. How do you feel about this guy, Rich? I feel like you're waiting.
I put a lot of time into his tape because I've seen so many people lately come out and say, Malik Nabers is my wide receiver 1. And I was like, okay, for somebody who already watched Marvin Harrison Jr., everything, I'm like, okay, what makes him better than Marvin Harrison Jr.? So, like, we have a lot of tape on him in the film room. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take the time. I'm going to watch every single game in here. So I watched 8 games on him, I believe. So I wanted to find out what I was going to miss or what was going to excite me. And I want to say that by saying, I want to start off by saying he's a very special football player.
Yeah.
Like he's going to be a top 10 player. I said at the beginning of the show, him and Adunze and Marvin Jr. all have the potential to be wide receiver 1s and high end up into that next tier, right? But I went into this like, okay, I'm going to be very critical because when you got to nitpick, when you're talking about guys of this caliber going this high in your rookie drafts, and you're willing to take him over a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., who we talked about last show, who we think's generational, I had to see what everybody else is saying. And one of the things that caught me off guard is because I went outside the tape, then I started reading like why other people were saying. I want to see why other people were saying he's the number 1 guy. And one of the things that caught me, one of the first things I watched was a video that just came out this week was Steve Smith, who's a Hall of Fame wide receiver, said watching him run routes is like watching Picasso paint without a paintbrush. And I'm like, that kind of blew me away a little bit. I'm like, he's not even the best route runner in his class. I was like, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a better route runner than him. Lad McConkey's a better route runner than him.
Odunze definitely.
Odunze's a better route runner than him. And that's not even saying that's not saying he's a bad route runner.
No. He's got explosion that some of those other guys don't have.
And his burst off the line and his be able to stop and go. Like my favorite play from him that I saw, I wish I would have wrote down what team it was. Like he broke to the outside of the line and the quarterback threw the ball as soon as he broke, and he broke right back in, and he like boxed out the defender and caught it with like one hand and brought it in. Didn't do anything after the play, but it was like my favorite play that he did it. I was like, that's a true wide receiver 1 play. Mm-hmm. But I didn't see this like elite route running. Like I saw instances where he was not sinking his hips, like you said, and like it cost him to slip sometimes because he is so fast.
Right.
I saw some drops from him as well. Like I saw some drops from him. Like his hands weren't like elite hands, but he has really good hands. So like
he has good hands, but
again,
he's got issues.
I am nitpicking here to the highest degree because this guy's a stud. By any means, he's my wide receiver 2 right now. I'm gonna dig more into the Dunze, but like I tweeted out like him and Odunze from what I've seen already on Dunze, because I've watched a lot of Odunze too, is him and Odunze are way closer together than they are to Marvin Harrison Jr. for me. And that's no knock on Nabers. It's more of a compliment on Odunze because I've been talking to Odunze since November. He is a stud, getting the ball in his hands. He's going to be a top 10 pick, but he is not a perfect wide receiver by any means. No. And he's a really good receiver, and he's going to be the number 1 receiver on the team, and I would be very excited to have him on my Dynasty roster. He'll probably be, once you draft him on your roster, he'll probably immediately be one of the best players on your team because there's not a lot of receivers, I would imagine, with where he's going to get drafted, opportunity he's going to get in a skill set that he has, where he's not going to be a fantasy football stud. So there's not like many receivers I would draft ahead of him right now if we were doing a startup draft. Like I would take all the stud guys that we think up there, but like he starts to fall in the category of like I would still take Amon-Ra St. Brown over Malik Nabers. So that should tell you. Yeah, that should tell you something right there. You know what I mean? Like is he wide receiver 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, but now I would take him ahead of Devontae Smith, and I love Devontae Smith. But like Devontae Smith's situation will be different than where Malik Nabers goes.
Garrett Wilson and Nabers.
They're very close. They're very similar players. He's got more burst than Garrett Wilson. So
Garrett Wilson had more, I think, body control and leaping ability.
Correct.
Contested catch.
But they're to me in my eyes, those are similar prospects, right? Like Garrett Wilson and Malik Nabers are very similar prospect in my eyes. But I don't see him as I see Marvin Harrison Jr. like for sure, like he has a chance to be wide receiver 1 overall. I can see Malik Nabers getting there, but like I could see it clear as day with Marvin Harrison Jr. The way like I see Marvin Harrison Jr. dominating man-on-man, like one-on-one coverage. Malik Nabers will probably do well too, but like again, there's just very minute things in his route running and some things that he does. And like you said, his contested catch, I'm totally fine with it, but there's just a couple things he could just kind of clean up to be that pure, like transcendent receiver. Like there's other receivers I've seen that are like a Garrett Wilson would be on par with them. Guys like AJ Green and Julio Jones were clearly better in my eyes than him.
For what it's worth, I mentioned how Marvin Harrison Jr., all the guys, all the prospects that I've ranked, he's the top guy.
Yep.
For right now, on that same list, I would have him. I think he's 7th of all the guys over the past 5 years. So still very high. Yeah. Assuming in that list, there's Garrett Wilson's in there and CeeDee Lamb's in there. Like there's some really good players but not the same level.
And I just want to reel back that like I don't think like all these pundits out there saying he's wide receiver 1. Clearly, this is pretty simple. It's not even like, oh yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr., but this guy wins differently. Like I'm looking at this from a long-term fantasy football stud standpoint, and he's one of those guys for sure. But like where I'm totally okay taking Marvin Harrison Jr. over Jaden Daniels, what for sure. I don't know if I would take Malik Nabers over Jaden Daniels. With Jaden Daniels going number 2, the Commanders over almost any circumstance. You know what I mean? Like I would probably always take Jaden Daniels at 3, if not 2.
Yeah,
but that makes sense.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'm trying to piece it all together in my brain.
It's just like,
but yes, I would take any quarterback in a superflex over a guy like Malik Nabers because I think there'll be another Malik Nabers in next year or maybe the year after his draft.
You could trade up for Rome Odunze.
They're good. They're very good players. Don't get me wrong. I just there's always going to be one of those guys coming down the line. Whereas if you hit on the quarterback, you're solid.
3 years, Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State will be a better prospect than Malik Nabers.
It's tough to say as a prospect, but he does really freaking
that
good.
Kid is
stud.
I think he was the quickest ever to lose a stripe.
He
right?
was the quickest.
The way they're talking about him is like, whoa.
I was watching his high school tape because
it's crazy.
In high school, and then I watched his like early practices already at Ohio State. I'm like, oh, this guy is like
Julio.
Yeah, he's the next great. Like how we're talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. Like he has that kind of potential. Like he blows my mind already as
Yeah.
a true freshman.
Yeah, Jeremiah Smith has a 81.3 from me right now, so I'm just
So yeah, I mean, I love Malik Nabers. He's as of right now. Like we'll talk about next week after we break down Rome with Dunze where he stands with, and I can't wait to see what Matt says about Dunze because I really do feel Matt's going to fall in love with the Dunze. And in my head, I already hear like, yeah, I kind of like Justin Jefferson. So many times where Matt chimes in, where like people say Malik Nabers is number one. And Matt goes like, I'd actually take Odunze ahead of Neighbors. Like I can just hear it in my head already.
Spoiler alert. My
So,
nerd score for Dunze is higher.
what's Matt? What is? I mean, I know you've been like
I've been
doing
messing
your own nerd
messing
score on the
around with
side.
these. Yeah, so
What's yours for Neighbors?
it's 77.75
Okay.
for Neighbors. So it's a good score. I had 83, a little bit over 83 for Marvin Harrison. So they're, to me, it's they're not even really close.
Yeah, no,
as far as-
I think we're all in agreement here. The main difference for me is just the way he plays. I mean, the David Zach did a like correlation breakdown of our nerd score grades from a category standpoint, and body control, and was the leading like highest correlating factor to fantasy success, which was surprising. But like looking back at it, like all the guys that you see at the top of the game right now, like Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, they all have that trait in their game like Marvin Harrison does. And Malik Nabers, he has a little bit of it, but it's not anywhere on the level of those guys.
He's good at it. He's not great at it.
Right.
It's funny because I remember when David did that study, and I was like, well, we'll see how that like still plays out, because our top guy and because it was 4 categories, the top 4 categories were body control, route running, hands, and release. And like those 4 just crushed almost everything else. And our top 3 guys in last year's class were Jackson Smith and Jigba, which made sense. I was like, okay. But then the next one, I was like, I don't know how well this is going to translate. It ended up translating pretty good because Tank Dell was the next one, and then Josh Downs. So it once again proved like those things are pretty dang important for NFL players.
Yeah, they translate. And again, so Malik, I'm just emphasizing this because if you're on Twitter and you're in the community, you're going to see a lot of people say Malik Nabers is my wide receiver 1. And now I feel way better about it because none of you guys came in here and said, oh, no, he's my wide receiver 1, too, which I thought was a possibility. I really did.
Yeah, he's not a bad player. He's a really good player.
He's
He was a
really
top 10 pick probably.
Yes.
I guess.
Yeah.
We all like him. I see that.
Yes,
Yep.
I
He's
completely
elite.
understand it.
He's 100% elite. Like he is an elite player. It just I don't want anybody who watches or listens to the show to fall in that trap and to take him ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. or potentially take him ahead of an elite quarterback. And honestly, even potentially when we get there, Brock Bowers might be safer at the tight end position, who's dominant. So it's a very good class, and he's a part of that puzzle that makes it a really good class. But he's not in the same tier as Marvin Harrison Jr. It's my opinion, and it sounds like your guys too, which makes me feel a little bit better about it.
I think I know this answer, but I want to ask it, this question anyway. Is there any scenario where Malik Nabers leapfrogs
Marvin?
Harrison?
0.
Not in my drafts for me.
You mean
Like-
like draft capital? landing
Draft
spot?
capital. Hey, this guy lands here, that guy lands
Like
there.
worst case scenario would be so, and you're at, like it would go
Neighbors goes to the Chargers.
Neighbors
somehow.
go. Marvin Harrison Jr. goes to the Patriots,
Sure.
and then Neighbors goes to the Chargers.
Sure.
Like that's
Yeah.
that in my eyes, the top of the draft, like possibilities. That's like the worst case possibility, and I would still take Marvin Harrison Jr.
I agree.
At least make you pause.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't even pause.
Yeah.
I would still take Marvin Harrison Jr.
Press play.
All right.
Bailey Zappi.
And then I'd be traded for Jacoby Brissett.
Well, let's see
Bailey
what else the
Zappi
Patriots would do in the
throwing
draft.
you-
Yeah. So obviously, there's no way the Patriots can pass up a quarterback here when this quarterback
Trading up
class
for
is
Penix
way
if that's the
stronger
case.
than next year's class. So
Make my mock look better.
Dude, Penix and Marvin Harrison Jr.? I'd like that.
I would like that too.
Dog, you hate all the quarterbacks in
I hate them all. Don't get me grumpy, dude. We're talking wide receivers, and I'm happy. Don't get me grumpy, man.
Jane Daniels, bro, the dude. You like Jane Daniels?
No, I do. I'm
tease
just
me.
generally
It's,
grumpy about all the quarterbacks. All right, so moving on.
Except Bo Nix. You love Bo Nix.
Let's talk about 6 foot. The guy who's 6 foot next.
What if he's not? He's 5'11" and 5/8.
6 foot.
Gotcha, 3/8 of an
That's
inch.
probably what I am, but I say I'm 6 foot, so that's
Yeah,
fair.
yeah, base, me too.
Attention Dynasty nerds. Want to play Dynasty like a pro? Check out FFPC, where serious Dynasty leagues have thrived since 2010. You can dive into a world of over 1,500 leagues with stakes ranging from $100 all the way up to an elite $5,000 league. FFPC isn't just a game, it's a community. With unique formats like Triflex and year-round trading, it keeps the fantasy spirit alive all year. Here's my favorite thing about FFPC leagues. They stand the test of time. They've never had a single Dynasty league fold thanks to their orphan season. When you join an FFPC league, you can count on it staying around. They've completely revamped their Dynasty for sale pages now on the web and app, making it easier to scout and snag the perfect Dynasty team. Have you ever dreamed of turning a diamond in the rough into a champion? FFPC Orphans offers that exact thrill. Join the ranks of savvy managers at FFPC. Use our code NERDS for $25 off. Visit myffpc.com. Explore the Dynasty landscape. Find your next challenge. The FFPC, where your Dynasty journey begins. Remember, that's code NERDS for your special discount on your next league.
Led McConkey,
6'1", bitch.
Georgia, wide receiver, 5'11" and 5/8 inches, 186 pounds, 8 5/8 inch hands, 30 1/4 inch arms, 72 inch wingspan. He's 22. He'll be 23 in November. He ran a 4.39 with a 1.52 10-yard split. That was the 40-yard time, sorry. In the 20-yard shuttle at his pro day, I got a couple of different numbers. One was like a 3.94. The other was a 4.04. You know how pro days are.
Yeah.
The 3-cone was 6.72, though. Very impressive. A broad jump of 124 inches. Bench press 13 reps. Vertical 36 inches. Last year in 9 games, he had 30 receptions, 478 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns, 2 rushes for 38 yards, and an additional touchdown. Rich takes the floor.
Stronger than Brian Thomas. 2 more reps. Listen, I came away...
His face.
Absolutely.
This is a guy.
This lad right
This
here
lad.
is.
You think he's
Is
Irish?
your conch.
You think he's Irish?
Yeah, what gives it away? He to me this screams PPR monster. PPR stud. I absolutely loved his tape. I came away. I watched all the film I could possibly get my hands on because he's my wide receiver 4 in this class. He's right
so
behind.
far.
So far. But honestly, like if somebody passes him up, kudos, because this is something I'm very excited about. This is my, outside the running backs where they go, where I was saying 1.9, like if I have 1.9, I'm very excited to get, like, I don't feel like there's a drop off to me because I'm really excited about getting Lad McConkey. This is a player I hope and I think should sneak into the first round of the NFL draft. I know Jared said he didn't see a first round grade on him for NFL draft. I see somebody, man, that wins at all different levels. The way he explodes off the line is his burst is good. His fast. He's fast. He gets off the line so quick. He sinks his hips so well. He's an absolutely tremendous route runner. Mm-hmm. And not only is he a good route runner, his yards after the catch are really good too, because he shows that on tape. Like he gets the ball and he makes defenders miss. Like he's loose out there in that field. His short area quickness is absolutely tremendous. And obviously, you can see with his 40 time, he's fast. It also shows up in his gauntlet, which is why the gauntlet's one of my favorite drills, like how his speed showed up there in the gauntlet as well.
Absolutely.
I thought he tracked the ball really well. He could play on the slot. He could play outside. He could play anywhere you want him. He's constantly stacking his defenders and just making them miss and manipulating the defenders at all times. His route running is so crisp. Like it's such a good thing to watch. Like it's
it is good, man.
And what I love about players like him is they always translate to fantasy success because they always get open. Like they're always getting open. And listen, he's not the strongest guy. He had some injuries.
His numbers are kind of meh.
That's my biggest question about the dude. Like where was the actual production?
The problem is it's Georgia.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I ended up in my brain saying. I was like, the problem is this is Georgia.
See, and that's why I don't like when I look at that's why I'm a tape guy and I like watching tape because like tape, you're not hearing what down it is. You're not hearing anything. You're not hearing the stats. Like you're watching that player every time. And what I saw on tape translates to a fantasy football player. This is somebody that can win on all three levels, who can consistently get open, who I think I hope he goes in the back end of the first to a really, like, him on the Chiefs would be gross. I think now in the Bills would be gross. I mean, there's a lot of situations where he can go to and find success. And if somehow he slips the second round and goes to a place like the Chargers, like 6 to midnight all day, like,
he'd fill the Keenan Allen role very well.
I mean, and what I loved about him is he was consistent, right? Like every snap, he is all in. Every single snap. And he blocks, he's giving effort downfield. Like he is all in every single snap. And he's exploding and showing that burst and speed and agility every single snap. I came away absolutely in love with this tape. I love this player. I think he's a stud. Now saying that, like, I don't want to come out and say, this guy's a wide receiver 1. Now, if he turned into a wide receiver 1, like a year here and there, like it would have shocked me. But this guy is definitely, to me, screams wide receiver 2. Like he's a wide receiver 2 consistently for the next 8 to 10 years. Like that's how good of a route runner he is. He's got good size. Like he's not overly thick. Hopefully he can grow into that just a little bit. But he's 6 foot. I don't care what you say. He's 6 foot when you put the cleats on. He's 186, but you add a little bit of weight there. But you know the fact that he has the size. He shows his broad jump 10 foot 4 inches. He shows how explosive he is there.
Yep.
His tape, I love it when I get excited watching somebody's tape, and I get excited about a player like this, and like he's one of those guys.
Listen, there are times that you're watching a guy and there's one way that they win. They can only beat zone coverage, or you can only beat man coverage going deep. He wins in a lot of different ways, which is nice. You know, he has all the underneath routes. He can gain separation just because he's got a ton of burst and quickness in and out of his breaks. But what I love is that he's smart enough to sit down in all the zones. He's very quarterback friendly, which is what we love as fantasy, people that play fantasy sports. You want to be able to show the numbers to a quarterback, get those cheap points, those quick points. So I do think he's a guy that is going to be able to gobble up PPR points pretty frequently, pretty easily. I don't know that he's going to be a wide receiver 1. I think it would have to be a pretty perfect scenario for that to happen. Likely he's going to be a wide receiver 2. There might be a time when he starts off as a wide receiver 3, until he establishes himself in whatever offense he is getting himself into. And the reason I think that is, you look at his numbers, it's a numbers-driven game. It took him a little bit to get established here. He only played 9 games last season, so last season's numbers are a little bit skewed. But I could see it. He starts off as a wide receiver 3, kind of works himself into a second, hey, you're the second option in the offense type of role, and that's when he could blossom into that wide receiver 2 and possibly touch wide receiver 1 numbers if everything goes crazy his way.
I mean, if Cole Beasley can kind of sneak in there.
That's what I mean. Like that. That's the
Wes
scenario. That's the scenario where it would have to be for him to get there, in my opinion.
And that's what I'm saying. I want to bring it back a little bit. I'm like, this guy's a wide receiver 1. I don't want to say that, but this is somebody. He's a championship caliber player. That, like, if he's your wide receiver 3 on your team,
you're doing great.
You're doing great.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So it's. I mimic and will say a lot of the same things, so I'm not going to repeat myself that Rich already said, but he's great in and out of breaks. He's very crisp route runner. He's good with the ball in his hands. He's good in zone coverage or, against zone coverage, just kind of sitting down in those areas. So there's not a lot to knock the guy. I mean, he's a little bit on the small side, but he's not small. He's 5'11" and 5'8".
There's a couple plays where he made with the ball in his hands, like his yard after catch, where he made defenders look silly. Like, I wish I could remember what team it was to where he made he ran for a touchdown and he caught it probably at like the 30.
He's a creator.
And made 3 different defenders just look silly.
He's a creator with the ball in his hands.
Yes.
Like we talked about Brian Thomas and even Marvin Harrison Jr. They'll get what's there. He's a guy that can create something. So he's a completely different type of wide receiver.
Not quite to the Malik Nabers level, but
no.
But I had a really healthy score on him. He got a 76 for me, which is a really solid score. just for reference, I mentioned it before, but 78.78 for Malik Nabers, which is top 10 all time. So 76,
Pretty good.
pretty good number there
Nice.
overall. A lot of the stuff you said, I echo. I think one of the things that I feel good about Lad McConkey is he's the type of player that is less risky than some of the other players.
Correct.
Now, maybe he doesn't have as much upside as some other guys, but the floor is so high with him that you feel really good about drafting him. You know that you're going to be able to, at some point, maybe it's not as a rookie, but in the near future, be able to plug him into your lineup. It is going to consistently get you points. And he seems like a next level processor. You see it in the open field because I don't think he has crazy moves, but it's almost like he's reading things like a running back does. So it's really interesting to watch him play. But even with his moves, you can tell that he is a student of the game, and you can tell that he spent time watching his opponents because he does little things to get his opponents that I'm assuming, and this is an assumption on my part, but weaknesses in their game, nuances that the DBs had.
That's a good call.
That I think he's able to exploit those things because it seems like even though it doesn't seem like he's moving at a breakneck speed like some of these other guys are, he's always open and he's always creating separation. So it really seems like, I don't know what his like testing scores, his cognitive numbers and all of that, but it seems like his ability to be able to process the game is just at a different level than other guys.
And I think some of that shows up in his own stuff because he just knows.
He always knows where to be.
He knows instinctively that spot right there is open. I got to go there. I got to go turn right, show my numbers to the quarterback, and bam, the ball's right on him. You know what I mean? So that I do think he's got a lot of elements that will translate pretty quickly. I don't think it's going to be a huge learning curve for him to go to the NFL and kind of have some success. But at the same time, draft capital, what are you guys hearing, seeing?
I'm
what do you
hearing
think?
possibly late first, if not very high second.
Then it won't take long for him to get established. As long as I think, yeah.
I've read him.
As long as
I've seen him go to
thought.
the Chiefs at the back end of the first. I've seen him go to the Bill. I've seen him go in some mock drafts because it's real. You see Adonai Mitchell, you see Troy Franklin, you see Xavier Worthy. Like it's a hodgepodge of guys go there. But if he doesn't go in the first, he's going very high second, like top 10 in the second. So he's going to a good situation regardless. Either going to a team that's established or he's going to a team that needs help.
Well, that's good because, sometimes I see stuff on tape that I love, and, this is my first time doing scores as far as the nerder. And sometimes it lines up with draft capital. Sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. But it sounds like this one at least gets I have a fairly good score for him as well.
Is he your wide receiver 4 so far of the guys we watched?
Of the guys that we've watched and talked about, he's actually 3 because I have him ahead of Brian Thomas.
Well,
Dunze. Okay, then 4.
Yeah.
I have another guy.
You had Mitchell 4.
Huh?
Did you have Mitchell 4?
I do, but we haven't talked about him, so that's why I wasn't counting him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Tez Walker had to have been up there somewhere, didn't he?
Yeah.
There's other guys to talk about, like the guys that we're going to come and talk that could probably challenge him are going to be like Xavier Worthy, Troy Franklin, Adonai Mitchell is going to be one of those guys that could kind of come in here. I'm missing somebody else too, right? It's gotten a lot of first grade.
Keon Coleman, he's getting some. I
and
like
Brian
him.
Thomas. A lot of people.
So, what do you think?
Just some names for our combined nerd score for who Lad McConkey is around is T. Higgins, Zay Flowers, George Pickens, Jordan Addison, Chris Olave. So some really good numbers. Some really good guys there. So, just looking at that, I was texting back and forth with Rich the other night, and I said that I don't see a first-round grade on him, but like now looking at just how the numbers can kind of spit out, I like to see that. And, those guys, most of them are first-round picks. So kind of like what Rich is saying, late first, early second, I can definitely see that. One of the best route runners in the class, easily can win on the outside, can win on the inside. I like that. I think he's more of like a wide receiver 2 within an offense. That's just how I kind of see him almost like a Chris Olave, actually, like the way that he plays. I like him just like you guys. My only knock on him was I saw him double catch a lot, like his hands. I don't know if you guys saw the same thing.
No, I didn't see that at all.
I saw a couple. I wouldn't say I saw a lot.
He didn't have a super high grade for me on his hands, but it was like still not bad. You know, he didn't see him make.
I was gonna say I don't think he dropped hardly anything.
Just didn't look as
I thought
natural.
I saw Nabers drop more than I saw him drop.
I
didn't
mean,
see him
he got
drop.
a 7.
I think I saw him
He
drop
got a 7 in
ball.
that category for me. It's not
Okay.
bad. So anyway, yeah, I'm right there with you guys on Ladd. He got almost a 74 for me. So
Nice.
good grade. I like him. I think right now he's my wide receiver 4, I believe. 5.
Only credited with 2 drops.
Wide
last
receiver
year.
5.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw a note on here too. I thought I saw in Lance Zierlin when he does his scouting reports. He always talks to like scouting people.
Yeah.
It's funny now that you say that because I have a note on here. It says from his scouting report, it says from an NFL scouting director, really smart. You could tell he watches a ton of tape with how good he is
Boom.
at picking up and how to attack guys he's facing.
Love it.
That's from
Love
an NFC NFL scouting director. So that's
He was
Yeah.
probably quoting me, but that's fine. I'll let the NFC scout take it.
so good prospect. To me, locked in the first round of your rookie drafts is a better way to say it. Forget the NFL drafts. To me, he's locked in. Right now, I would probably take him right around pick 9. After running backs get drafted, probably right around pick 10 around there. But which is great because if you're a contender, you're getting somebody like who I said earlier, like if he comes as your wide receiver 3, you're in a good spot. Like so, if you're a contender, this is a great guy to go out there and get.
Yep, here's a nice spot.
Hey guys, let me tell you about our friends at Sleeper. Guess what? Our app the mini is live on Sleeper right now. The Dynasty
So
GM.
pretty.
You can use the analyzer. You can
thing looks
use the trade calculator. And my favorite thing is the inbox, right? Where all your trades from all your Sleeper leagues are right there. You can actually push trades through the actual Sleeper app. And right now, we could be more excited to be partners with them. And right now, if you don't know, they are doing DFS. And I know how many people that play Dynasty play DFS as well. And right now, there's not a better place to play DFS than Sleeper. They're offering up to 100 times your entry, the highest payout in the whole DFS market right now. You can track your fantasy players and your Sleeper picks in real time. All you got to do is choose 2 to 8 of your favorite players from pregame, live in-game, or even across different sports. Pick more or less than the predicted stats, and only on Sleeper you can get up to 100 times your payout. You can share it with your friends and get rewarded together. Make sure you use that promo code NERD so our friends know that friends sent them their way.
No way.
And get your deposit match and have a good time. You'll have all your DFS, all of your fantasy leagues, and now even a Dynasty GM in one spot. It is fully operational inside Sleeper right now. And then when you're a Nerd Herd member, you get that full access to that. And remember, you also want to download the Dynasty Nerds app because they're both in there. Check it out. Check our friend Sleeper. Check out the DFS. Use that promo code NERDS.
Get your whole estate.
All
All right, so next up, Jalen Polk, wide receiver, Washington, 6'1" and 3/8 inches, 203 pounds, 9 3/4 inch hands, 31 3/4 inch arms, 74.5 inch wingspan. He's 21 years old. He'll be 22 on the 11th, or did he just wait? What's the date?
Yeah, he'll be on 22 on the 11th.
On the 11th. Okay. He ran a 4.52 in the 40. He ran a 1.52 in the 10-yard split. 129-inch broad jump, 37.5-inch vertical.
It's a good broad jump.
So really good broad jump, pretty decent vertical as well. Last year in 15 games, he had 69 receptions, 1,159 yards receiving, and 9 touchdowns. He had nine touchdowns. He had four rushing attempts for 32 yards and another touchdown.
All right. So Jalen Polk, he was, I don't know if I can call him Robin or not officially, because there were 3 receivers there in Washington that were all really talented, and clearly Batman was Rome Odunze. Yeah. So we'll see after we watch McMillan who we think Robin actually was. That one can be like,
What's the butler's
Catwoman.
name? No, what's the butler's name?
Alfred.
Alfred.
The other one could be Alfred.
Yeah.
I know there's like 18 more Batman characters that have come out since, but regardless. So Jalen Polk, really talented as far as contested catches.
Catch
stuff
point.
goes.
Catch point.
I
dude.
mean, he was all over it.
Yes.
That was where he would win. You box a guy out.
Yep.
Go up and get the
Some
football.
of the best hands in the
High
class.
point it. Like it was really fun to watch. Yeah, I have a very high grade on
That's
him
my
as
number
well.
one thing for him. Was like someone you can count on to make a catch.
Yep.
That's my number one thing, Adam.
Yep. It's even more physical than you would expect. Like, because he doesn't have that frame of like a huge bulky guy, but I mean, he played very physical brand of football. Very bully ball style. Not an overly explosive player.
Oh God, no.
He didn't do a ton in the open field. His release was a little disappointing for me.
Dude, I'm sorry to cut you off.
You're fine.
I agree.
Because this was, because after he gets past the line, like it's a player like you don't mind, he was painful to watch to get off the line.
I don't remember it being that bad. I'm going to have to go back and look.
Dude.
He has a pretty low score.
It was so bad, I got obsessed with it.
Okay.
Like
obsessed.
See, I didn't have it that bad.
Oh,
but
dude.
I had it.
Actually, it's one of his lowest scores that I gave him.
If
so
if you go back and watch Jalen Polk's film, and all you focus on, and I trust me because I did this, it's him getting off the line. It's the same. He almost rocks into it. Like he hikes the ball. He rocks into get off the line, painfully slow. And it was one of those things where it's like, oh, like he wasn't going to ball every single snap.
He's not a
painfully slow. Could have been the slowest person I've ever seen get off the line in the history of mankind.
He's not very explosive, and he's not very crisp in his routes. So I was focused on that.
He's not a great route runner.
Yeah.
I got obsessed with him off the line. It was bad.
And he is one of those guys that does seem to take some plays off. You watch him on the backside of some plays, and he's usually standing there walking and stuff like that, which I don't love to see.
Me neither.
You see it a lot more these days.
You do see it's becoming more and more prevalent, unfortunately.
Because of the offenses, the way they're
the way they're designed to read half the field, and they know the ball's not
get your
coming
breath
their
for the
way.
next play.
Yeah, like when he's not getting the ball.
Yes,
like you do. Like it's like he's like.
So
and maybe we overstress that now.
Maybe we do. Maybe we're too
they're
old school
allowing it for a
curmudgeons.
reason now.
Yeah.
You know, like
maybe. But all that to be said, I think he's an interesting prospect. He didn't get a great score for me, 69.53. Which isn't a death sentence, but it's not a great score either.
I got just over the 70 mark.
Okay, so we're in a similar ballpark there for him. I think he does his certain things well, and I think there will be a role for him. But the biggest issue is going to be he's got to figure out how to get off the line to be able to make those contested catches at the next level. Dude. Because if he can't, it's not going to happen.
Historically, man, like.
It's
these
tough.
kind of guys always grade decently in the nerd score. They never pan out. Like the catch point guys. Like that's their thing. Like Jonathan Adams.
I'm not going to go out of my way to get this guy. And I love him at the catch point.
He's fantastic.
Me too.
He is fantastic.
Everything leading up to it.
I don't usually.
After
I'm not usually like, hey, this guy. Like I don't usually really love a guy and like give a crap. Like, all right, you're good at it. Okay, good. He is really, really good at it. But I can't in my mind picture how he's going to win in the NFL. I don't see how he's going to get on the field.
He's so lackadaisical.
He just doesn't run good enough routes. He's not explosive enough. Who is going to trust him enough to get him on the field and then throw him the ball?
If he gets drafted by the same team as Michael Penix.
Where's his acceleration at? Like, you know what I mean? Like, agree. Like, he high point. Like,
it's in the gene pool. He didn't get it.
That's why I said my number one note on here is someone you could count on to make a catch for sure. But then right after that, at the very best, he turns into a wide receiver 2 for the team. But his best is probably going to be a good wide receiver 3 on a team. And that's because I don't know how he wins off the line. I just don't know how
profiles.
The game moves too fast in the NFL
as
for him.
The third guy for an NFL. Like,
yes, that's a wide receiver 3. He's a Tyler Boyd.
Yep.
He's a big slot.
He's a big slot.
Yeah.
He's a
big old
dirty
slot.
Big old slot.
Yeah, it's
thinking the same thing.
And again, this is somebody who didn't do anything until his 4th year, right? Like he didn't break out to his 4th year, so it's just the speed and everything is not there, which kind of sucks because he does dominate at one special thing.
Specific thing is really good.
And here's the running a 4.52 is not an end all be all.
No, it's not a bad time.
It's not a bad time. It's just on the field. He's not fast.
No.
And he's not explosive in and out of breaks. He doesn't run crisp routes. Like he's just not.
He's not off my board.
Yeah.
I'm interested because I hear that he's going to get day 2 draft capital, like round 3 is what I'm hearing.
Really?
That's what I'm hearing.
Listen, David Bell did too.
You're right. And remember, a lot of people like David Bell.
We did not.
Boy, did we do on David Bell.
And then the Browns drafted him.
Yeah, and we still do on David Bell. So,
we did.
Yeah, I mean, this is somebody like I would probably take in the 4th round of my rookie draft.
Listen, I don't even know that I'd bother.
See, at that point, it's more of a positional thing for me. Like, unless I think a guy is special in the 4th round, I'd rather just give me backup quarterbacks and backup running backs and hope that they become something.
Me too. I'm not.
It sucks because
he does that one thing really well.
And once he gets going, it's kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll find somebody over the next couple weeks that we like.
Yeah,
that will take in those ranges more.
And that's the thing. Out of all the guys we're watching, it's like, oh, this guy's like in the middle.
Because these next few really suck.
These next few are bad.
Guys, I got to tell you about my friends at Underdog Fantasy. Right now, they have the pre-NFL Draft 2024 Best Ball is live on Underdog. Draft your favorite rookie sleepers you've discovered in the Dynasty Nerds film room. Play in $3 contests all the way up to $1,000 contests. Draft your team and never worry about setting a lineup. You need to get in on this action ASAP. Sign up at Underdog with the promo code NERDS. And Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100 for new members only. And yes, Dynasty Nerds is still giving new users a free Nerd Herd and Dynasty GM annual bundle membership with your deposit of $10 or more at Underdog by using that promo code NERDS. So you get all our tools, all access to the Nerd Herd by putting a $10 deposit down in there. Your Dynasty Nerds promo code will be sent by email within 48 hours of sign up. New members only. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. In New York, call 1-877-HOPE-NEW YORK. In Tennessee, 1-800-889-9789. Dude.
All right, so let's get on to somebody I don't like much of anything about. Isaiah Williams, wide receiver.
You like sending the gifts.
Huh?
You like sending the gifts.
What gifts?
Of the wrong guy?
Oh, yeah, that one. What was the other guy?
I think it was Isaiah Wilson.
Isaiah Wilson
said it was.
Who was an offensive lineman a couple of years ago. I've been like, whoa, dude, this guy's going to look really slow off the line, I could tell.
But the physicality numbers, through the roof.
Through the roof. Anyway, back to Isaiah Williams. 5'9"1/4", 182 pounds, 9 1/8 inch hands, 30 1/8 inch arms, 72 3/4 inch. He's 23 years old. Hey, ran a 4. It doesn't matter, guys.
4.63.
4.63 in a 40, and 1.59 in the 10-yard split.
Broad jump.
He had a really good 3-cone.
Yeah.
He had a 6.75, 123 inch broad, 17 bench press reps, 38 inch vertical. Last year he had in 12 games, sorry, not 8 games. 12 games, 82 receptions, 1,055 yards, 5 touchdowns. How the heck did he have that much production? I don't think I noticed.
One was he scored one. I think it was on an end around. Was one of them.
Well, anyway,
he barely got it.
I don't know how he got 1,000 yards.
I don't either, man.
So this is a former quarterback who played at Illinois for
2 years.
For 2 years, he was a quarterback, 2019, 2020, and then he made the conversion over to wide receiver for 21, 22, and 23.
Yeah, no, I mean,
anything who's up on this guy?
Rich is up.
The fact that once I read that he played quarterback for 2 years,
yeah,
it made a lot more sense that why he doesn't know how to play wide receiver. Like,
I agree.
His route running wasn't good. His hands are just okay.
He's another gadget.
If the ball's not on him, like, he struggles. Like, if the ball's not right on it, like on him, like, he struggles.
He's not a natural wide receiver. He looks really, really good with the ball in his hands.
He's fun to watch, the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
He is.
He's electric there.
Yep.
But, like, I don't know how he gets the ball in his hands in the NFL. That's the problem.
He won't.
Yeah.
I will say he looked faster than the 4.64.
I agree with that.
He did not look that slow. Like, I was kind of surprised when I saw that time because I don't think that.
I think it says the 44 he was like this and then ran.
That makes sense.
So
he lost some time there.
He was an odd guy in that there was at times he looked freaking lost pre-snap, like awareness at 0. Like, he's pointing and they're snapping the ball. He's like looking at the sidelines and all this. And that was before I knew that he used to be a wide receiver. I mean, he used to be a quarterback before he was a wide receiver.
He used to be a wide receiver too.
So in my brain, originally I'm like, this guy's got no awareness. He doesn't know what the hell's happening pre-snap. And they're snapping the ball. He's not even focused or paying attention. And now I'm thinking he might just be trying to tell other people what to do. Like, maybe he wasn't pointing at the sideline.
Maybe he's next level.
He's next leveling it and trying to micromanage the other wide receivers
because he knows everything.
Because he knows everything. Honestly, I don't know what it was, but it was enough. I saw enough of it that I was like, Jesus, like get yourself together before the snap, man. Like, you got to be ready when they call go. But anyway, there's not a lot that I like about this guy.
There's no refinement there whatsoever.
I don't have a lot of other notes. I liked his quickness, and I liked his yards after the catch.
Do you think he gets drafted?
Isaiah Williams.
If he does, it's 7th round.
And it's as a punt returner.
So
kick returner. Because I think he could do that and win.
Although I remember reading that he did struggle with some fumbles.
He dropped
punts.
3 muff punts
over
the last 2 years.
Well, then never mind.
I'd rather have Rasheen Ali.
Yeah, you would.
I'd rather have
so
Tez
would
Walker.
every NFL team.
Whoa, slow down, Rich.
I mean,
That's
I do have a higher
Rich's
score for
guy.
Tez Walker.
It's
You love
bad.
Tez
And I'm not
Walker.
going to lie, the next 2 guys are bad.
They're
too.
really bad.
Yeah.
But like
Jordan,
I hope the rest isn't as bad,
who
but
put this
Isaiah
lineup
Williams.
together?
wide
Jordan,
receiver
I'm
is
just going
not
to get into it so we can get done with it. All right. Jordan Whittington, Texas wide receiver, 6 foot and 5/8 inches,
Poor man's Jalen Polk.
205 pounds, 10-inch hands, 30 and 3/8 inch arms, 73 and 5/8 inch wingspan. He's 24 years old
I
already.
feel like he's been at Texas forever.
Because he has been.
Ever.
He bench pressed 18 times last
Hey, that is
year
good.
in 14 games. He caught 42 balls, 505 yards, 1 touchdown.
Physical player.
Yes, he is. He's a very physical player.
That is all
he
he
has
is.
He'll go
He
jump
has
ball and get it.
my
Actually,
highest
I like
physicality
watching
score.
him. Yeah, like
8.5 on the physicality scale. He has the highest number so far on all of that. But there's a lot. Other than that, I have a high contested catch,
He
and I
can't
thought
move.
his releases were
He
decent.
can't move. Give me a break.
No.
I watched him try to juke
He
somebody in the open field, and he fell over.
He has
He
my
fell over
Dude, no burst.
trying to juke somebody else out.
He has my lowest burst, my lowest
Rich on the-
quickness,
Rich
my
on the
lowest
Eagles.
game speed, and my lowest route running. And surprisingly, my overall lowest score at
Me
a
too.
57.5.
58.
Catches the ball away from his body.
Stiff as a board.
Dude, yeah. Not
This is stiff. This guy's stiff.
yeah, like
This guy can't move.
he can't run routes.
No.
Like he's
He
not
won't be drafted.
he's not getting drafted. So Jordan Whittington, don't draft him.
Nope.
I don't even know why we even watched this tape.
We should have watched.
was
the dude
thinking that
from
the whole
Georgia.
time. The whole time. I'm
Marcus
like, why the hell
Jackson.
am I wasting my time on this?
Why are you telling us that now, Jared?
I did. I put him down when you asked for feedback. I put the little fringe. I put the other wide receiver.
Listen, I
down
guess
there.
sometimes you don't know because
Until you watch
the tape.
until you know. Yeah.
So, but at
and
least
now we know.
and listen, sometimes it is important to find guys to put a red line through, so you don't
We
waste
say
your
that.
time.
And it, yeah.
Because if you don't know,
Unfortunately-
you don't know to put a line through.
Unfortunately, when he doesn't get drafted, everybody's got a red line through him. So just know Jordan Whittington, he'll be a great person to go buy a car from in Texas, but you won't be seeing him on the NFL field. Maybe the UFL? Maybe?
Maybe.
But probably
Maybe.
not because
Who knows?
I don't know how he gets open there.
Or
either.
the EUFL.
That's so mean. And I'm so sorry, Jordan, but you know what's up. That's why you stay in Texas as long as you could.
All right, next up.
To the NIL.
Ryan Flournoy, Southeast Missouri State wide receiver, 6 foot and 3/4, 202 pounds, 10 and 1/8 inches,
Hey, if they got invited to the combine, they made the list, okay?
31 and
Stop
5/8
looking at me
inches.
like that.
He is 24. He'll be 25
If y'all want to go back to
in
just
October.
scouting 24 guys, we can. But we
Everything
scout
I just
36.
said about Whittington, you could say about Ryan Flournoy.
Whoa. Let me get through my numbers. In the 40, he ran a 4.44.
I was going to say, he ran a fast 40. Doesn't show
did.
up on tape,
Dude,
but he runs a fast
Massive
40.
broad jump. Massive.
1.53 in the 10-yard split. He had a 132-inch broad jump.
That's 11 feet.
19 bench presses. Vertical of 39 and a half inches. Woo. At Southeast Missouri State last year in 10 games, he had 57 receptions, 839 yards, and 6 touchdowns. 6 rushing attempts, 49 yards for an additional touchdown. Who's taking this beauty?
When you look at him, you're like, dude, that's a receiver.
He's yoked.
He's like a big dude. And I thought, I thought that he, I thought his hands were okay. I thought he had good hands. But besides that, I mean, again, a guy who like he can't get off the line. If you play like on the line and you press him whatsoever, like he's not going anywhere. He seems like he's.
You know who I think he is secretly? I think he's A.J. Brown's cousin that just like didn't get the good genetics. because he like really tried to he's got good athleticism stuff that just doesn't translate to anything on the
It's
field.
like he's got a broom duct taped to his back, and or a pole. So like he just has to run.
He's too muscular. Too many muscles.
You know those big
many
dudes that walk
muscles.
down with their arms out
Yeah.
like this, like, hey, bro. Like, that's how he runs, too. It's like, hey, bro. Like, I don't know, man. Like, he's got no, he's
Here's
very
the deal.
stiff.
He's got no refinement to his game. He's got a couple of tools. He's fast, right?
He's fast. He's
yoked.
strong.
I got a tool belt.
He's 24, almost 25 years old. He's got no time to develop the things that he needs to develop.
Yeah, if he hasn't figured out this yet far, in his life,
just doesn't.
he's not figuring it out.
It's unfortunate. I'm not going to waste any more time talking about him.
Him and Whittington should open a landscaping company together.
Stiffs are
I
us.
thought they were selling cars, man.
Whatever they got to do to make
They
a
can do
buck.
both.
Yeah,
All right,
whatever.
yeah.
I mean, they got college degrees. They'll go far
Yep.
in life. Not in football, though. They're, not no upside whatsoever here. Like, you said Whittington had a bad grade. Like, this guy has to be right there, right? Like, neck and neck.
This was the only player of all the players I don't have an actual score on because I only watched the 2 games.
Yeah. That's all you need to watch.
And it was one of those things where I was like, am I really going to go find 2 more games? I think I know. So I didn't feel good to give him a score if I don't watch all 4.
Okay. So score's 0, which makes sense.
That feels right to me.
So I'm going to say, these last 2 shows we did, for the first half, there's a couple guys in there, but for I can't wait to get in these next 2 shows or 4 shows because this class to be super deep. There's got to be a lot of guys we're going to be excited about.
There are definitely more players that come up. The back end of these 2 shows were probably the weakest of the shows that we'll do. So it'll be a little deeper in some of the other shows.
I'm already looking at the names for next week, and I'm already excited because I watched a little tape on Malachi Corley. I really like what I saw
Corley
there.
quite a bit.
Both Washingtons look nice. Xavier Worthy obviously is a burner. And we're going to be talking about, of course, Roman Dunze, Jerry Rice's son next week. So we got a lot to get into next week. We have 2 more shows of these wide receivers. So
I'm not sure what he just said.
Jerry Rice's son.
I'll tell you afterward what I thought he said.
Okay.
Okay.
Thuck attack.
You got to love that list.
I heard Jerry Rice's son. So
I did not hear that. I did not
And
hear
if
that.
Jared hears it, that's
especially because I was reading something.
This guy's not, and he's never listening.
Right.
Not with these 3 last receivers.
Well, then he probably heard it wrong. He probably said something else.
it's why we don't put Jared on film because otherwise he's looking like Isaiah Williams at the line of scrimmage.
What is happening? Oh, gosh, we're taping.
I like tunnels. So we'll be back next week talking more wide receivers as we inch closer to the NFL draft, which will help define our overall rankings. We'll probably do a bonus show at some point to give our pre-draft rankings overall. Too.
We have a Nerd Herd show planned for that.
We're doing a Nerd Herd for our pre-draft overall rankings. And
Woo. Cannot wait for that.
We even do a mock draft one too beforehand.
We have that scheduled too.
Perfect.
God,
Perfect.
it's almost like he doesn't know. He don't even look to you.
Where am I supposed to look?
The schedule Garrett sends out.
You get a schedule?
Yeah, he's scheduled out the next 3 months or something.
Yeah. All kinds of
All
schedules.
right, when we log off, show me the schedule. All right, back next week. Peace out.
Adios.